excuse me. What we have set up is we've got the interview set in 3 sections. The first section is an introduction. We'll introduce ourselves and I'll provide some background information on the institution, the department, and the position. Then we have a series of 8 questions that we have for you. We'll go around our table here and ask you those questions. And then we have a time at the end for any questions you may have for us.
Sounds great.
All right. So I'm Dr. Richard Schulke. I am the AVP of Technology Enhanced Learning and the Chief Academic Technology Officer.
Yes, sir.
I am the chair of the search committee and also the department head that this position will report in. And we'll go around the table. Emmy?
Hi, my name is Emmy, and I'm the coordinator for Technology Enhanced Learning.
I'm Sam Pernay, and I'm the executive assistant to the provost and vice president for academic and student affairs, and I'm your faculty representative.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Sarah Dirk, and I'm the associate director of technology. No, instructional technology services. We just changed it. It was ITS because it was so much easier.
That's awesome.
And I'm Scott Campbell. I'm the associate director of academic technology here at the university and in the department.
Awesome. Very nice to meet y'all.
Nice to meet you as well. Yeah, and what Sarah was referring to previous to her getting here, it was EIEI.
You know,
Yeah, it was, no one can remember what it was, so that's a joke she had around here. So, anyways, we are with Texas A&M University Central Texas.
Yes, sir.
We are one of 11 separate institutions within the A&M system. We're one of the newest members. We stood up on our own in 2009. We are located here in Killeen, Texas. We just completed our accreditation reaffirmation earlier this spring.
Awesome.
We have 2,600 students, that's head count, with 1,300 FTE. 45% of our students are military and military related, and a little over 45% of our students take online courses. I should say a little over 45% of our enrollment is through online courses.
Yes, sir.
We have about 100 full-time faculty members and about, depending on the semester, about 120 adjunct faculty. The average age of our student is 32, slowly going down. We are an upper level and graduate only, meaning we have no freshman level courses or sophomore level courses. All of our students are transfer students, almost all from area community colleges, including Central Texas College, Temple College, and Austin Community College.
Right.
The department is Technology Enhanced Learning. We live within academics. As I said, I am the head of the department, and I report to the provost.
Yes.
And we have 2 divisions, the Academic Technology Services and the Instructional Technology Services. We also provide the accessibility oversight for electronic information resources across the institution.
Right.
The position of instructional consultant is on in the division of Instructional Technology Services, and it reports to Sarah. We do have a small division, so we have Sarah leading the team. We have 1 instructional designer and the LMS administrator, and the instructional consultant is a senior instructional designer position on that team.
Right.
The instructional consultant works with faculty on course design, works with faculty on LMS training and technology training, and guides faculty in building their own course content.
Yes, sir.
We're also a Quality Matters institution, so when we work with faculty and build courses with them, we use Quality Matters as the foundation.
Yes, sir.
Have any questions about the institution, the department, or the position?
What LMS do y'all currently utilize?
We use Canvas. We've been on Canvas for 1 year.
Okay. Well, I am familiar with Canvas. We currently use eCollege, and we are in transition to move into Brightspace, their Desire to Learn LMS.
Yep.
and that is supposed to start in the fall full time. So, in fact, my dissertation is on this relationship of adopting a new LMS and challenging and how to help faculty who have challenges related to that.
Yes. Yeah, that's a hot topic. My team went down to OLC last year to present on our experience. We called it the good, the bad, and the ugly.
That sounds
Of
accurate.
changing LMSs, and I'm also presenting the same topic at the Distance Learning Administration Conference later this month. So it is a hot topic.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Well, the next section of the interview is to do the interview questions. We have 8 questions. The first one is scripted from HR, and it has 2 parts, so if you could answer each part separately.
Sure.
The first part is, are you currently authorized to work in the U.S. for all employers or only for your current employer?
I am available to work for all employers.
Okay. And if you are hired, will you be able to provide original valid employment verification documentation?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Okay. Along with that first question, we're also required to provide everyone we interview with a copy of our benefits summary and the Clery Act report, which is the report of all criminal activity in the vicinity of the campus.
Yes, sir.
I will send that to you later this afternoon via email.
Sounds great.
So you will have that. And that moves us on to question number 2,
Perfect.
which is, what interests you in this position, A&M Central Texas, and the Killeen area?
Well, first of all, I'm a Texas native. I was born and raised in Texas, and I have my dad was an Army guy. I have a lot of friends who are, related to service. Also, I'm very patriotic as a Texan, and I think it's something that, because of what one can do in an asynchronous environment, you can utilize that anywhere. There might be places that someone who is in an area that may not have internet would have trouble being able to get online to do, their coursework. But other than that, anywhere that internet is available, we can help empower our students. Therefore, the Killeen area is just like home to me. I've been in the A&M system. I was in East Texas State in 1980 when I started at this area. Now that A&M system is we're under their umbrella, and so I just look forward to making a difference in not only the lives of students that I have the opportunity and the privilege to instruct, but colleagues and administration that I get to get closer to and become family with.
Okay, and you may hear a pause or a long pause after each question. Per our Human Resources Office, we have to take notes. And so usually after your question, there will be a pause as we have folks catching up on their notes to your responses.
Okay, well, if there's something that I need to re-explain or share again, please let me know.
Sure. Okay, Emmy, number 3.
Hi, Robert. It's Amy. What is your
Hello,
process for designing, refining, and developing a new idea within a team?
Well, if I understand what you're asking me, basically you want to know what the instructional design process would mean to me. Okay. Well, just based on what I've learned so far is that first one needs to be able to analyze what's required. Everybody does not like the same things in an LMS situation. So you need to find out from those who are going to be utilizing this environment and format, what do they need the most? How can they reach their students the best? And there's a whole lot of different areas that may need to be set up, such as training, understanding what the learner's profile is, so that you can best reach them and make sure that you have those tools available to do so. You're going to have content areas that you're going to be having to, place in your online courses. So there may be some subject matter experts you need to talk with. Instructional designers are very important during this time. I think you need to understand what the technology is all about. If you don't stay up to date with technology, especially if you're trying to teach, for example, pre-service students, help build their tool belts to help them understand how to integrate technology in their curriculum, then they're going to be bored. They may not like your class. So I think it's important to be a lifelong learner in the areas that you are working in. And so with that, I mean, every institution has their own branding. So it's important to live up to those expectations. I think you need to be able to explain the learning objectives that you have for your course. And of course, you may see that in the syllabus. You may see that at the beginning of each unit or module you design. And speaking of design, I think you need to develop the design that you have based on these things prior to this stage. And then you will basically create there should be a picture of what you're doing in this class. The learning objectives need to coordinate with what you have in each unit. And when you try to teach someone what you're building, you're doing so not just so that they can learn, but you want to be able to empower them so that they can carry that forward into the 21st century as they become workers or in the military or homemakers, whatever they're doing. They need to be able to carry forward what they're learning in class. And so I think all of these are important as you deliver that, you deliver your training, and then you want to see the impact and be able to evaluate that from those students that you have in those classes so that you can see what you need to change, what you need to add, what is working. And that's because you have to realize everything, all learners don't learn the same way. And so we have to develop around those things in order to make the most impact and the biggest difference to those students who are taking your class.
Mr. Wolf, this is Sam Pernay.
Yes,
I'd
ma'am.
like for you to describe your most recent collaborative session with a faculty member or a PA to develop a course, and preferably it would be an online course in an LMS.
Okay, my most recent is I've been working with the Faculty Center in relation to instructional technology here on campus. And there is a doctor friend, Dr. Petra Strasberg, who I have collaborated with in order to build the class that I'm currently teaching now. And I did this back in 2014 with her as we would meet every week to discuss all the different things related to our course from start to finish and how to add. And I'm very proud of the course I've designed at this point. I love being able to learn new things, add new technology, but working with her, we worked on it over the summer so that we could start it in the fall. And we set up each learning objective. We set up all the different things that eCollege offered that we were going to utilize for that semester. You want to make sure you don't have clutter and things that you're not going to be using. So there's ways to highlight those and make them hot links, and there's ways to delete those or get them out of the way. And so we concentrated on getting those things as we set up the syllabus. We set up the course calendar, We set up the different units, and basically went step by step. I would put in an overview of what that unit was going to have for that whole unit, with due dates, when things were due for each assignment. Then there would be an assignment and assessment page. So it went from very broad to very confined, very tight explanation of what was in each unit. I had them building e-portfolios and blogs so that they could be able to place their artifacts that they created in the semester for a final project. I had them do blogs so that they could set up websites and put in blog activities that we did specifically for the blog. We put in technology integration projects. Of course, we put discussions in there. And there's just a list of these things that we put in each unit in order to fulfill what we wanted to get across for each unit, so that they could learn about plagiarism, so they could learn about copyright. I wanted them to learn about how to set up websites, be able to use those later on in their teaching careers. I wanted them to collaborate with each other, learn how to have proper etiquette online, learn how to just kind of see what other students had as far as their personalities and their beliefs in relation to these assignments. And so we got that done by the end of the summer, had a successful fall semester, and I've only been growing and learning ever since that collaboration.
Thank you. Okay.
And,
Sarah again. And the next question is a follow-up to the one you just answered. So, what was the most valuable part of working with the faculty member that you collaborated with as an instructional designer that you took from the experience?
well, first of all, I enjoy just kind of picking people's brains, getting to know what they know, so that I can learn and put that in my tool belt. I enjoy learning how to communicate, how to best reach that faculty member. I just enjoy the camaraderie. And I think it's also important for me to not only know how to communicate to other faculty, because I need to be a good communicator to my students as well. And I think before, during, and after, and as often as possible, I need to be available for them, as well as getting to know faculty, because when you're a family and you are all working towards one goal, and that is success at your university or wherever you're at, you need to have, I think first of all, most important is understanding the challenge you have and making the approach to that challenge successful, so that your result ends up with empowered students that you teach, and therefore you would have relationships that you build with those faculty just by doing what you say you're going to do, coming through for those due dates that you have even as a faculty member or administrator. And it's nice to be someone that they can count on and know that you're going to do what you say you'll do and what's needed for that position.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, Robert, Scott again.
Yes, sir.
All right. Part of our mission is to educate SME builders on the use of technology for education. So how do you persuade a technophobe to try new technology in their course design?
Well, if you don't understand what it takes to have faculty buy-in, then you're behind the eight ball. You're just going to struggle from A to Z. And what I mentioned earlier is really a perfect setup for how to reach faculty and get them to buy into what they're doing, what you're doing as an instructional designer, as a university that's using this LMS. If they don't understand the imperative for success by using this LMS with, well, how is the value to them and their students relevant? They need to know that. They also need to know that you're going to be able to communicate, because I think one of the biggest detriments behind lack of faculty buy-in is a lot of them don't have confidence if they can't do what if they have trouble figuring out the LMS and how it works. So if there's not a good instructional designer, if the faculty center is not helping them keep that confidence built so that they can have a successful course, then you're in trouble, because the result is going to be detrimental to the whole setup. And we don't want that. We want it to be successful, so we're going to have to understand by communicating what the challenge is, how it's valuable to them, and communicate, be transparent about the goals, the training, what's best practices, what's the best teaching methodologies you can use to make this the most successful course, and help them grow by this training and communication and building successful results. I mean, because your stakeholders are going to want to see this. It's expensive, so your return on your investment of this LMS, it needs to show a profit. It needs to show students who are successful by getting degrees and being great workers in the workforce wherever they end up. And this only reflects on the university and faculty and administration.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Scott.
All right, question number 7.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about an instance when you had to work with a challenging faculty member. How did you handle it, and what did you learn from it?
Well, my office on campus, I am next door to a Regents Scholar professor who has been here more than 25 years, and he is just an awesome man, but he does not like technology. Whether it comes from just getting on the computer, trying to put his password in and hoping it'll go through, to an LMS, using the LMS for one of his classes. Every opportunity I get, and I jump at any chance that I can help him with this area, because his struggle is that he's been a lecturer, an instructor, and he sees how successful he's been all these years doing what he's normally done for all these many years, and now he's required to do some changing in his repertoire of having to have an online class or two that he has to teach. And so my opportunity is that I get to go in and share with him that, first of all, the importance of using the LMS. What kind of value does it bring to him and to his students? I think that sometimes professional development training isn't always good for every faculty member. Sometimes you just need to reach them where they live and find out how to best reach his comfort level. So if you already know that faculty member and know where they struggle, you can help build their confidence by already being ready to overcome that struggle that he has, and by showing him, if he likes to learn by a tutorial, say from YouTube, something you create, if he likes watching and following steps, doing it that way. If he'd rather talk to you in person and see you do it, it just depends on where his learning ability lies. And so that's how you just find out where they are struggling, find out how they learn, and then you can reach them by knowing those things and helping build that confidence up, just because you have done your research on them and their ability to learn and how to reach them with whatever. If it's adding something such as putting a discussion in a course, whether it's being able to email students and how to find the different things in that course, just being able to know the basics that he's looking for, you can best show him by how he learns and always being there for him. And it doesn't have to be just him. That's just my example with my neighbor.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to ask the last question.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell us about instructional design projects that did not work or did not live up to your expectations and what you learned from it?
Well, if I'm understanding what you're asking me, you want to know about some failed instructional designs and how I learned from them.
Yes.
Over the course of the experience that I've had, I always like to put in an assessment of my own. The school always puts in evaluations at the end of each semester for the students, but I'd like to put in my own assessments. And one thing I like to find out when I was first doing it, I wanted to see what they thought of the course and how I had designed it. So I would put in things like, what did you like about the course? What did you not like about the course? What are things that you would like to see added to the course that weren't in there? Things like that. I just wanted to see basically if I was reaching them, if I needed to add some new things. And over the course of that, I found out that they really enjoyed things that weren't hard for them to figure out. In other words, when I put the instruction in, if I would add if I'd add a tutorial for them, for example, when I'm having them do an e-portfolio, I will give them the opportunity to pick things like Weebly, Wix, WordPress, or Google Sites, and then I'll put tutorials in there now so that explains how do you design your own Weebly site, for example. I found that this helps the majority of the class because there's a lot of them who don't want to do their own research and figure it out for themselves. They like a little extra help. And over the course, I found that when they weren't happy with a certain way that I set up the course, and I've utilized those things that they said they didn't like over the years that I put those assessments in, and it's only made it to where now I have where at least 90% of the class have a much more empowered course that I've designed because of these past assessments. So I don't, I understand that even when you see that there's a failed course, some part of the course itself has been a failure, you only should grow from those failures because you're wanting to always get better every course. You don't want to keep the same thing in there over and over. But I think you need to keep things that work, keep things that you're trying to teach based on those learning objectives. And so you find those different technologies it's not a matter of just using a technology for the technology itself. You want to be able to help those specifically pre-service teachers who are fixing the student teach, be able to utilize that technology to help keep their students engaged, give them things to use, whether it's building a video, whether it's utilizing a PowerPoint and teaching them how to narrate that, teaching them even how to make a PowerPoint into a video on YouTube, whether it's teaching them something related to a discussion and collaborate through those responses to your classmates. Everything is done and you want to learn from your mistakes of what you've designed to improve every semester in that course, because it's the most important thing is your students, empowering them so that they can be successful in life when they leave your class. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, that brings us to the third section of the interview. What questions do you have for us?
Well, it has been a joy to have you all listening to this interview. And if you don't mind, I do have a few questions. First of all, how would you describe a typical day in this position?
I will let Sarah answer that question.
Okay.
Well, I'm sure you're familiar with the idea that there is no such thing as a typical day.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Our days kind of run the gamut. We can have days that can be very quiet where we have time to work on projects that we have just built up over the, course of each term or several terms. And then we have other days where we get started on a project and then proceed to start putting out different flyers. The flyers can be related to either the LMS or one specific tool, or we may have just different faculty members coming in asking for help on specific items that they're having issues with. So we can end up being very, very busy in that regard.
Yes,
there
ma'am.
are times when the projects, you will be working on a project that's related to helping a faculty member build maybe one or two things in a course module. There may be other times where you are consulting with a faculty member or staff on how to use the LMS or a tool in the LMS and show them how to do it, so you're teaching them more and then they're taking that to teach someone else. So it kind of runs the gamut.
Very awesome.
So typically we come in, we check our email, we put out flyers and start working on projects and then wait for more flyers to pop up. I think that's the easiest way to describe it. I work pretty closely with, we all work pretty closely together down here, so there's, it's often a matter of collaborating with each other on different questions that come up. Find out from different people what has broken, hasn't broken, what things are needed, and then we start collaborating on ideas, ways to fix it, or new programs and projects we might want to push out as far as instructing and teaching. So it's kind of long-winded, but I think I've covered pretty much the majority of what we do on a regular basis.
Well, I do appreciate that very much. I just, are y'all familiar, and when you set up your courses with different instructional design theories like the ADDIE model, like Merrill's principles of instruction. I'm a big social constructivist because I love that students learn more from life experience, and you scaffold that by teaching them new things that they can add to that, just about, for their own life experiences. And when you use these different models, it only helps to strengthen the courses. Even Bloom's taxonomy, the SAM model, things like that just help me to understand, first of all, students need to know what learning is, what understanding is. So many times we don't even understand, we assume they know these things. And I didn't actually learn what these things meant until I was in my master's program. Now, I thought I had known, but I hadn't ever delved into it as deep as I have here. So that's why I was asking that, because I love the ability to have that camaraderie with faculty, knowing that a day can bring on anything is possible. At a given day and a given university at that job. So I think the main question I have is, what's the most important thing if I were to get this job that I should accomplish in the first 90 days of this position?
We're thinking.
Okay.
From my perspective as the head of the department, it's to begin to build collaborations with the folks in the department.
Yes, sir.
And to start developing the skill set an understanding of the tools that we have here,
Right.
so that you can be the expert on Canvas or LMS,
Yes, sir.
Kaltura or video service, any of the other tools that we have in our lab available to faculty, so that you can become proficient enough to be the trainer and help teach faculty how to not only leverage them with what I call buttonology,
Yes, sir.
but how to take that skill and apply it to instructional or assessment areas.
Okay.
Now that's from my perspective as the department. That's what I would expect everybody to do in their first 90 days. Start learning what we have here and how it applies to your job. Sarah, do you have anything to add?
I think that pretty much covers most of it. Within 90 days, you should have a pretty good handle on at least how the LMS works, the tools that plug into it. And then within the first 90 days, you'll get a better feel for, I think, how the department fits in within the rest of the university, and how that may be similar or different to what you're doing now. So, yeah, those are the only things I would add to that.
Okay. So what is the best part of working for TAMU Central Texas to you?
Let's see. The people.
Great.
I get to work with a fair number of really good people. And there are many who do like to learn, and I love seeing that aha moment when they come in and ask a question about something they are unfamiliar with, and I'm able to show them how to use it, and they get it and understand it, and feel that they've learned something valuable. So, yeah.
Well, I sure do love that. I know when I first started using eCollege, one of the first steps that I took to learn it was find all the tutorials that I could find related to every area of eCollege and the design part, so that I could understand best how to build. And that's just something I've carried over to my classes. I try to teach my students the importance of using YouTube to help them with their problems and struggles, because YouTube, I believe, is one of the best informative tutorial sites in the world. And so I utilize that often. And so I try to teach them the importance of doing that. Whether you have a problem or a struggle with education or home, I mean, from working on your car to putting indoor-outdoor carpet on your patio, and anything related to education, you can probably find it on YouTube. And so I just think being able to know those things, being able to have a great support system such as the teachers and faculty that you mentioned, and that body of family that you can go to and talk with and struggle with and learn from, and all those things, you find someone that you can talk to and become a part of in that department. That makes life so much easier because you're going through the battle together. So thank you for that.
No problem.
Okay. Anything else?
Well, I think you have just summed up what I wanted to ask. Thank you very much.
Oh, no problem.
Okay. Well, to let you know where we are in the search, today is our first day of interviews.
Yes, sir.
So we hope to have the interviews wrapped up this week. We will either make a decision this week or next week. We have several people on travel, so it may be a little bit delayed from that. Our goal is to, of course, always have the position filled as soon as possible, but we're really looking to have this position filled before the fall semester, which for us is the first week of August. So that's what our timeline is right now.
Okay, sounds great.
Okay?
I appreciate your honesty, and I appreciate this opportunity
Okay.
for all you
Thank
guys.
you.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, if you do have any other send them to Sharon Winslow, my admin assistant.
Yes,
and
sir.
she will get the questions to me, and I will make sure that we have the right person respond to any questions.
Well, I appreciate that more than you know.
All right. Well, you have a good afternoon.
All right, y'all too. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye-bye, y'all.